In 1994, Poison began working on Crack a Smile, the follow-up to the controversial Native Tongue album. When the band submitted the album to the record label in 1995, the label said no, we're not putting it out. Fans would have to wait another 5 years to hear Crack a Smile when it was finally released on March 14th of 2000. Tonight, Patrick, Ryan, Jeremy, Jones, and I discuss on our thoughts on what many people call the Forgotten Poison album. Right after this.
The hair metal guru from Warren to Crew. The hair metal guru. Never forget Charlie too.
Welcome to the Hair Metal Guru. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru, and let me remind you that we don't have AI write our scripts. We think of our own shit to say. I'm going to start saying that every fucking video that we do because I'm tired of watching AI shit. Anyway, guys, we're here to talk about Crack a Smile. It shows how crazy times were in the mid-90s that Poison, a multi-platinum fucking band, denied by the record company. Anyway, it comes out in 2000. There was many bootlegs flying around. We'll maybe get into that. But first, let's meet our roundtable members. Right beside me, we got Drummer Boy Jones. Jones from the YouTube channel Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, my brother. I cannot wait for this. This is Poison is a very dear band to me. So this is going to be so much fun.
All right, awesome. And then right below him, we got RVK Ryan from the band Metalcast. Back to talk some Poison. Ryan, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
Awesome. He's got a Billy Idol shirt, just in case you don't see it, but that's pretty cool. All right, looking good, looking good.
Nice.
Right below him, we got Jeremy, the drummer from the band Abrasion, looking all badass with some sunglasses and shit. Jeremy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, guys. I always love this. Can't wait to talk about this album. Can't wait to get all your takes as well. So thanks for having me on again.
Jeremy's hoping to redeem himself from the Halloween episode when he had not one but two cartoon movies for the Halloween episode. Nice one there, buddy. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, you're right. I got a lot of work to do tonight.
That's right. That's right. And right above him, we got Colonel Patrick back for the attack. Patrick, welcome back to the show.
Dude, it's my favorite fucking night of the week.
Yeah.
Amen. I look, we always record these on Wednesdays. We're starting to do these albums and other things, so I look forward to this so much. It's usually my favorite thing to do during the week. So today we're talking about Crack a Smile, and like I said in the intro, I think it's kind of the forgotten album. There were a lot of, because it gets denied in 95, there were a lot of people getting bootlegs. I know some of us on this show got bootleg versions. And because there were so many bootlegs, when it got released in 2000, they were putting all these extra songs and live songs to try to get people to buy it. Two of the songs ended up on the Poison Greatest Hits, 1986 to 1996. Anyway, I think a lot of people have thoughts on this album. And maybe a lot of people are wondering, because if they were a big Poison fan back in the 80s, early 90s, maybe they never even took the time to listen to it. So we're going to kind of give our opinions and kind of let people know what we think about it and maybe whether they should check it out or not. So I think we're going to do this. And we've kind of got this format down. We've already talked about Wing or Pull, Motley Crue 1994. What else do we talk about? Def Leppard, Adrenalize. Is that it so far?
Yeah, that's it so far.
So this is the fourth in the series. So we're going to start with, where were you with Poison before Crack a Smile? Major fan, on the fence, what have you? And I think we're going to go like this. We're going to go Jones, Ryan, Jeremy, Patrick. So Jones, and you kind of alluded to it earlier, but feel free to go into a little bit more in depth. Where were you at with Poison before Crack a Smile?
Poison was, of course, my introduction to hair metal was Motley Crue, and Motley Crue was my all-time favorite. However, when Poison busted onto the scene, I was an instant fan, and I always had a 1A and a 1B. It was Crue or Poison. I loved Poison. I always got so pissed off because they always got ragged on so hard. I get it, the image, the glam. but yeah, and the musicianship. And it's like, well, they can't play, they can't this, they can't that. I loved Poison. Ricky Rocket. I painted my drums poison green because of Ricky Rocket. Ricky Rocket was a very big influence to me. I loved Poison. I loved the simplicity of it. I loved the good times of it. So yes, Poison was a very, very influential band to me.
Okay, awesome. I just had to respond to Scott Wall on X, who was fucking chiming in on something and said all we do is shit on Motley Crue. And we don't only shit on Motley Crue, we fucking love Motley Crue, but we're not such a fucking little teeny bopper who can't hear anything negative about shit that we don't like. So Scott Wall, fuck you. You're such a whiny little bastard. Fucking A. Anyway, moving on to, sorry, I just had to add that there. Moving on to Ryan. Ryan, where were we at Poison before the Crack a Smile album?
Oh, that was my ultimate obsession. Poison was it for me at that point. It was like 99, 2000 when I really, really got into them, just again because of my age. And that was the first time I saw them. And that was the Dawkins. There we go. The Dawkins Cinderella Slaughter Poison show, amphitheater show, and it was absolutely amazing. So yes, I was all in on Poison, all things Poison at this point.
Okay. Awesome. Jeremy, where were you at with Poison?
100% diehard. I never swayed. Even though Native Tongue left me wanting more. I just felt like Poison picked up the ceremonial gauntlet of rock and roll that Kiss started. I really do. Took every page out of their greatest book and did it bigger, better, and more bombastic, and I loved it. And like you, Drummer Boy Jones, Ricky Rocket inspired me, especially his drum kits. Every time they'd come out with a new album, he always custom painted it. And Ricky's such a talented individual. I couldn't wait to see what the new set was going to look like. Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood. Open Up and Say Ah, that red and black one, hands down my favorite. But he's also got the Alien one. He's got such emblematic drum sets. And I wish that I could get a poster with every single one, because that would be hanging on my wall.
Jeremy, I'll give you $10 if you can spell emblematic.
Just EMBLEMATIC, emblematic.
Oh, nice.
I'll hit you up on Venmo. All right, Patrick, where were you at with Crack a Smile? Or before Crack a Smile?
When I was in the third grade in 1987, I got Look What the Cat Dragged In, because I was I thought I'd never seen anything so cool in my life as those guys. And it was a addiction all the way through my younger years. I adored everything that Poison did. And all the way through high school, the minute I know I've told this story to everybody in our 10 things I think about Poison. When I got Swallow This Live, I used to play that nonstop all the time. I memorized everything about that. Poison just was my everything growing up. So it was pretty amazing.
What I always found weird is that I went to a small high school in North Dakota, farming community. Everybody wore jeans and t-shirts or flannel even before grunge. And I worshiped Poison. But if somebody would have came to our school and looked like a member of Poison, they would have got their ass beat. I have no doubt. But so the dichotomy is not lost on me that I worship this band, and most of my friends probably did too. But they were so otherworldly. It was like, I was like, that's what a rock star should look like.
Yeah,
is Poison, and that's. Like if you wanted to show somebody who never had heard of rock and roll, if they had come from some fucking island that they'd been lost on their whole life, I think you would have shown them something that looked and sounded like Poison. And I loved Open Up and Say Ah, but when I heard Every Rose Has Its Thorn, I was like, oh my fucking gosh. It was so different, that acoustic, intro, it just broke my heart. I love that song. I never been so excited for an album as I was for Flesh and Blood. I've been pretty open about the fact that I wasn't big. I liked some of Native Tongue, wasn't big on it. But anyway, there is no doubt that for a period in my life, Poison was my favorite band of all time. So, we get into you go to Native Tongue. CC's out of the band. It's a different sound. You got Richie Kotzen on guitar. While they're on that tour, fucking Richie gets kicked out of the band. A lot of, maybe him and Ricky Rocket's fiance or girlfriend have a thing. Richie's out. Blues Saraceno comes in. They start recording the follow-up, Crack a Smile. In 1994, Bret Michaels gets in a big car crash. I remember reading about that in like Metal Edge. Like, holy shit, the album gets delayed. They finally finish it, submit it to Capitol in 95, and holy fuck, the record label turns it down. So here's what I want to go to now. Did you hear about, were you following Poison in the mid 90s? And do you remember hearing about this album before it was released? And I'm just going to reverse the order. And Patrick, like, were you following along when all that was
Oh
going
God,
down?
yeah. I was following along every month. I remember reading about Richie getting thrown out. I remember that the whole article was a one-page article in Metal Edge, and it said, Richie out, Blues is in, and it was a whole thing with Bret Michaels about what happened, and I followed along. I for one love Native Tongue, so I was kind of like, oh shit, what's this gonna sound like? So then I immediately had to go out and buy Blues Saraceno albums, like, which were just noodling and crazy fast playing. But I thought, well, this should be great, and I remember seeing articles about when they played Rock in Rio with him, and just thinking, well, this is going to be freaking awesome. I remember when Kurt Loder did a thing on MTV News about Bret Michaels' car accident. I remember all the lead up to Crack a Smile, all the different names that the album was going to be called, like Hairless, Toothless, Butt Naked and Screaming was one of the names that they gave to it. They would talk occasionally a little bit in some of the studio interviews about some of the songs that were going to be on it. So I had a whole lot of excitement, and then to find out that the album wasn't going to come out and that Sexual Thing and Lay Your Body were going to be on the greatest hits. Well, then I freaking went right to the store the day that came out, got those, didn't, just rewound the tape to that back side so that I could hear the two new songs, and I loved them immediately. And I thought, oh my God, I can't wait for this record, Crack a Smile, to come out. And it even said in the greatest hits book that Crack a Smile was on its way. So pretty interesting history there,
Mm-hmm.
And while you guys are going into this, like, if you didn't, you can maybe even tell us your thoughts when you got the greatest hits and when you heard the two songs, what you thought of that. Jeremy, were you following along with Poison and the fiasco in the mid 90s?
Yeah, absolutely. I stayed true to the Metal Edge magazines and the Hip Raiders and all those as long as I could, even when they started to switch over and started to show less of our bands and more of the grunge. And I kind of, like Patrick, was so excited. I hate to say this. This is going to sound so shallow, and I don't know what I'm trying to say. Simple-minded. But when I heard Richie was kicked out, I was excited because I didn't love Native Tongue. I thought Richie's guitar tone didn't fit Poison. I felt like what they were doing with the choir, his style of singing, I wasn't a huge fan. I was happy he was gone until I heard that they hired a guy named Blue Saraceno. Now, being a rocker, I knew the name. I knew the name only. I had never heard of any of his music. But I thought, oh, shit. Now we're going to go get into even more bluesy stuff because they always had a blues song on every album, usually the last song. Yeah. And I'm like, good grief, we're going to have a lot more blues on this album. It's even going to get slower and more Nashville sounding. I was scared. I was scared when I heard who they got just because of the name. But boy, was I pleasantly wrong and pleasantly surprised. Same way when I got that greatest hits and heard Sexual Thing and Lay Your Body Down, or was it Lay Your Body Down?
Everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I was blown away, and I kept thinking to myself, these could have been radio hits right off of the Flesh and Blood album. Had they came out just 5 years prior, or replaced Stand and whatever else they released off of Native Tongue, I felt like one or two of those could have been hits. But they just didn't get released. They waited too long. Time had passed and kind of left them. But I was heartbroken, especially when I heard the two tunes. And then I was like, everybody else couldn't wait to get Crack a Smile. Was just salivating at the thought.
Okay. All right. Ryan, were you following along with that, or maybe what were your thoughts when you got the greatest hits? What was going on?
Yeah, I was starting to get Metal Edge in the mid 90s and really following along. I would say my Poison love began like 97, 98. So at that point, there was still like, we wonder about Crack a Smile. The greatest hits though, I loved those two. Yeah, shocker, I love those two songs on the on that greatest hits because they're pretty damn true to form. Although Sexual Thing does have that stupid bullhorn thing in the middle that's like that Beatles shit smack dab in the middle of the second verse, and I'm just like, of fucking course. But whatever, you gotta like do that kind of thing, whatever. But those two songs are killer.
Yeah.
But yes, I was paying attention to the mythological Poison album that was a bootleg / maybe coming out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Drummer Boy Jones, what was going on with you with Poison in the mid 90s?
I'm the exact same way as the rest of the guys. I mean, I was waiting for this record. I'm a lot like Jeremy. Native Tongue is a good record, is a really good record. And I was excited for Native Tongue for the simple fact of Poison has finally got a virtuoso guitar player. They're fixing to become the next Van Halen, because CC always got such a bad rap of being a sloppy guitarist. I'm not a guitar player, so I can't say if he is or he's not, but I was like, yes, they're finally going to be a Van Halen type band and get the recognition they deserve.
Yeah.
But it fell a little flat to me. It was a little too bluesy for me. Good record, but it was not the fun Poison that I loved. The first three records are fantastic with a few exceptions. The blues things that Brett likes to do in his harmonica, I'm not big fans of that. But for the most part, they was great records. So when I heard the greatest hits and I was waiting for Crack a Smile, I was pleasantly surprised how rockish it was and how it was a really, really good ballad. So that even built the tension a little bit more. And if you like the rest of you guys, Metal Edge, you read Metal Edge. It's coming. It's coming. It never did come. It never did come. And I found a way to get the bootleg, and I sent off to Japan or wherever it was. I think I paid $60 for it. And I know we'll go into the album in a little bit, but yeah. So I couldn't wait for it. I could not wait.
Jones, when you said you were kind of like Jeremy, I thought that was going to be because you were both into midget hermaphroditic porn, but that's not.
So that's just another way in which we're alike.
Of the many ways.
We're both drummers and we both like midget porn. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not PC. I do like small people porn.
That's right, small people porn. Okay,
Little porn.
It's interesting the blues thing you're talking about though, because it's like Richie Sambora did the same thing. Like he went a little bit self-absorbed. I'm gonna go like full blues when it could have been huge. Because I'll be honest, I like Richie Sambora's voice probably better than Jovi's, and they both kind of like self-absorbed it and kind of made an error.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
that'd be a good album to talk about. The Sambora solo, the first
I
one.
like that. Still great. He can sing the phone book, and I'm fine.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with finding out what was going on with Poison in the 90s. I was buying every Metal Edge, every magazine. Like I talked about it to my friends, and especially like we got some decent rock albums Warrant's Ultraphobic came out in the mid 90s, and while it was a grower, you're like, how the fuck can Poison not have their record come out and Warrant has, well then, you don't understand record labels. Warrant had been dropped from their record label, and it got put out on a smaller record label. Poison was still on a major label, and major labels weren't going to put something out that didn't have a chance of being a big hit. So,
You know what's funny about that, Anthony?
Yep.
Is for those of us that were all following these magazines, you were also following all the stupid shit that Bret Michaels was doing. Like he was gonna, remember Metal Edge would be like, oh, he's gonna be in an episode of Burke's Law. So it's like, now I gotta fucking set the fucking VHS to record Burke's Law.
Yeah.
Or like whatever dumb show he was gonna be moonlighting on. It was that's how obsessed it was,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
any mention of Poison, I was all fucking over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were wanting so badly, for sure.
So anyway, I nonstop, and when the greatest hits came out, I'll be honest, I loved Sexual Thing. Lyrically, I was getting to the point where I was kind of ready for lyrics to be deeper. So, but I thought Lay Your Body Down, I was like, that's a fucking hit. Like, why is that not all over radio at some point? So Sexual Thing, good musically, lyrically, but it still made me excited as shit because, number one, the guitars and the sound were back to what you more expected and what I wanted from Poison versus the complete left turn that you heard on Native Tongue. Amen. So we're going to go next into you getting the album. Maybe you got a bootleg. Maybe you waited until 2000. But I want to know like your first thoughts when you first heard it. And then we'll finish with how was it aged for you? Because I'm assuming if you're like me, you've listened to it a few times over the last couple days. So that's what we're going to finish with. So I'm going to go in a different order. Ryan, do you remember getting Crack a Smile, and what did you think initially?
Yes, got it brand new. Very excited. Got it in 2000 when it came out with the extra songs on and all that stuff. Like I said, I was in my peak Poison obsession. It's neck and neck with Native Tongue for me. Let's put it this way. Like after this episode, I'll probably never go back to it voluntarily. But it was an eye opener. I was very stoked to get it then. I don't want to say I was disappointed, but it wasn't the first three Poison albums for me. And at that point I was all about the first three Poison albums.
Okay.
Neck and neck with Native.
Jeremy, do you remember getting it, and what were your thoughts then?
Yeah, like Ryan, I had to wait till 2000. And when I got it as soon as I could. Went down and picked it up, and I saw the cover and saw that those two songs were on it and everything, and I was stoked. I got home, I put it on. I called my brother Brandon. He came over and we listened to it together and we rocked our faces off. I think we were instantaneously impressed, especially by the musicianship. I was like, damn, there's distortion. Distortion is back on a Poison album. The fun factor was high. The Bobby Dahl, I think, does some of his best bass playing. And I know for a fact Ricky Rocket had some seriously good fusion drum playing on this album. I was all in immediately, and I never swayed. I've loved this album from the first listen. I just listened to it twice in the last 2 days, as you kind of alluded. There's a song on it, with the exception of Doing As I See on My TV, that I don't absolutely love and crank to 11 and just sing my ass off to. So I love the album. I think I could put it right with the other three. I wish Native Tongue honestly didn't exist, and this would have just been there. Their fourth album, because it was fun enough. It was fun enough to keep the fun factor alive for another couple of years. And like Bobby said, maybe they could have irritated that itch just more time. I would have loved to see that. But again, I think it was the best musicianship I've seen on a Poison album. We still have Brett doing his Southern twang voice a little bit. I don't know where that ever came from. We talked about that, but it sounded good. Like I said, the album Capitol did a great job with production. It kicked ass. It had a great tone. They did a pretty fun cover of a song that I love, the cover of Rolling Stone. I was happy, man. I was jazzed. I thought it was going to blow up and do something, but to no avail.
I wonder what would have happened if that would have been I still think it would have probably done gold, but if that had come out instead of Native Tongue,
I do too.
Where would the audience have been?
Yep.
For that album?
Would we have gotten another solid year out of Poison? That's really what I wonder.
Yeah.
But you're saying these things like Poison was suddenly supposed to be like a virtuoso-ish band and like show off their individual instrumentation, and like the guitars shine through. They're fantastic. But like Brett, he does like the hard stuff on this album a little bit too much. And I feel like Brett is the perfect guy that needs that melodic CC guitar that's not too complicated. You know, like the guitars do shine through, and that's like the highlight of this album in a sense. But I don't know if it's right for Brett. And I don't know if you need Bobby doing bass solos and Ricky sounding like the Rush drummer. Like, you kind of just want to be like, dude, you guys are four dudes that really did well with one another in the heyday.
Yeah.
And like, don't think too hard. Just dude, give me some Brett Fallen Angel, you know, not Brett like this, you know. I mean, he's good and all, but he wasn't the Brett Fallen Angel that I'm used to.
Okay.
Jones, do you remember getting the album, and what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I paid $60 and got it from Japan or the boot. I can't remember where I got it. But on a side note, Jeremy, you have redeemed yourself from Halloween.
Thank you.
Redeemed yourself from Halloween. And I do, and I'm sorry, but I do. I told you guys that I, back in the day, had my drums painted. So I've got to show this picture. Can you guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Show that again so it comes up if you could. Like, move it.
If you send it to me, Jones, I'll just put it overlay.
Okay.
So it will look good.
So those was blue pearl drums. And my dad, I told him, I got to have Ricky Rocket green drums. We have a friend that paints car. That is a Dodge Charger neon green. And we stripped all the hardware, and we had a car painter paint these drums to be Poison. So I just wanted to show that, and I'll send it to you. But yes, I'm just like Jeremy. I freaking love this record. I still love this record. It was, if you take Native Tongue out of the picture and put this one in its place, Poison was still Poison.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking Native Tongue, because Native Tongue is a good record, but how ironic is it that you had to get a guy named Blues to take the blues out of Poison, right?
Right.
You know, and I think he done a brilliant job. And that Rock in Rio that Patrick had mentioned earlier, it was freaking awesome. No, it was not CC, and it was not the original band, but I really loved it. And I still listen to it to this day. You said you didn't like doing on As I Seen on My TV. I love that song. Where else can you hear somebody gargle?
Right.
They recorded Brett or whoever was gargling. It was fucking awesome.
That's true.
If you want to hear somebody gargle, hang out with me and my old lady. What's up?
Or that small people porn that me and Jeremy
That's
like.
right.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Hell, Jones, you even get a little whistling on that song. You're right about that. They go all over the gamut.
There's not, I mean, the only thing that when I first put it in, it starts off acoustically, you know, and I'm like, but it kicked in. I loved it. I thought Brett is not the biggest, you know, he's not a Janie Lane lyric writer, you know. I mean, I'm like you guys. They always done great songs. You know, Life Loves a Tragedy is such a freaking awesome song. So Tell Me Why. Some of the things that wasn't singles was really good stuff. The The songs on Power to the People, the 4 or 5 original songs on that, so good. But I thought the lyrics was funny. I mean, there's some cornball stuff, but Brett does know how to write a ballad. I mean, he can do that. And so, yeah, I thought it was freaking awesome. And going back, I actually listen to this record more than I do any of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I'm at.
We're gonna move on to Patrick, but I'm just gonna say, like, when I heard that and I didn't know shit about Blues Saraceno. When I heard his name, Jones, you mentioned it, I'm like, the guy's name is Blues? I'm like, oh, fuck. Here we go. That's all I remember thinking.
Me
So,
too.
Patrick, do you remember getting it? I think you got it before 2000. What'd you think?
I got it in February of 97. My friend was huge on the AOL. AOL was just kind of getting started, and they had the message boards for all the different bands. And somebody posted, literally, they were the first person to post it, that you could get it from this place called Buccaneer Records in Baltimore. And here's the address, here's the phone number. Oh my God, within minutes, we were on the phone with them and ordered 2 copies, had them express mailed the next day. I mean, I think I paid probably $40 for the album and $20 to have it express mailed. And we both had these, copies of it, and the cover's the same. It's just different colors. Keep in mind the bootleg, the reason that on the actual release, that all the MTV stuff is on there from Unplugged is because it was on the bootleg.
Yes.
The only thing that's not on the bootleg is the outtakes from Crack a Smile.
Yeah.
So and Gotta Face the Hangman. So got that record. I was instantly in love with that record. I couldn't believe how good it was in my book. Like Jonesy said, it from the first strums of Best Thing You Ever Had, or I was hooked. I think it should be mentioned too that this was Poison evolving, and as much as I agree with Ryan, it's not the first 3 records at all. This was Poison trying to move. Think about what that time frame was. In 95, 96, this was like an updated sound of the glam rock sound that they were known for. So it had the little jokey parts. So it was keeping the humor of what Poison was always about, which was awesome. It had the ballads that you had, but they sounded a little more serious because they can't sound like they're, 20 years old anymore, because they weren't. Brett was banging Pam Anderson at this point. So, he's moved on in his life. He's had a giant accident that's influenced his life. And I thought it was a phenomenal record. Having it for a good 3 years before it came out, I was so immersed in it that it wasn't, a big deal when it came out. But I don't want people to lose sight of this. Cece was already back in the band when this came out.
Yeah.
So nobody was sitting there waiting for this record when it came out. And I think that Capitol put it out because Capitol now knew they could make money on it, because Poison had already had their first year of reunion tour where they packed arenas again.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Greatest Hits sold 1 million copies based on that tour alone.
Yeah.
So they put it out, and the band was pissed about it coming out because they felt like, well, Cece's back in the band, and now you're like putting out a record with the ex-girlfriend. Like, this doesn't float. And worst of all, as much as I love every song on that record, there is not a bad song on that record in my book. My favorite song was No Ring, No Gets. I think that song fucking smokes. But they couldn't have picked a worse single to put out. They only put out 1 single from this record, and it was Shut Up, Make Love.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing, Capitol Records?
And the first 20 seconds of that song is the biggest shout, watch out I've ever heard, ever. Even more than Motley 94 shit. But the rest of it's good. I mean, the rest, it's kind of cool, but like the harmonica undertone is still bugging me. But dude, it's funny you talk about like the updated shit, because I'm still hung up on like the kings of the 92 updated stuff, like Warren and like 93 Winger Pole, stuff like that. That's like, now that's updated. This, it's like each verse they rewrote for the shitty late 90s, but each bridge and chorus was like an awesome Dog Eat Dog, Winger Pull, updated Cool Poison. But the verses were just bugging me, dude. And like almost every single one had the Brett harmonica undertone. And it was, oh, but other than that, it was like true to form Poison on the bridge and pre-chorus, whatever you want to call it, and chorus.
Yeah.
See, and I love hearing your perspective as a lyricist. That's cool to hear your perspective and take on that.
Well, it's like some of these songs you go, dude, this shit leaked. Like, what was the one? I'm looking at my notes here. Baby Gets Around a Bit. I wrote, this shit leaked in 1995 because every dumb 90s pop rock band sounded exactly like Baby Gets Around a Bit in the verse. You know what I mean? Like Sugar Ray and like Weezer, like all these bands, it must have leaked to them because they certainly sounded just like it.
Well, I think you look at, like I said, listening to it and judging it in 2000 compared to if we had heard it in 95, 96, I think there would have been a different, I'm not saying Ryan would feel differently. I'm just saying, I think a lot of the music buying public would have felt differently.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think this album got any chance at all because the image on the TV was with Cece, and here's this fucking record that has nothing to do with Cece.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna slam on the Gotta Face a Hangman. I know everybody says, oh, well, they also put on these MTV. Well, those were on the bootleg. So, they basically gave you the exact same thing that came out on the bootleg with a horrible outtake of an unfinished song. And
that was horrible.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't impressed with any of the Crack a Smile outtakes that were on it, but I love the album for what it is, and I'll leave it at that. But it's my favorite Poison record. I'll say it right there.
Wow.
I found a bootleg. There was a record store and the dude is actually still a Facebook friend of mine. The guy who ran it was a huge hair metal fan, so he was cool about getting some of these bootleg shit. I remember I'm looking around, I'm like, holy fuck, you have Crack a Smile? I can't remember what I paid for it, but it was like a flimsy cardboard CO. It was in the CD case, but like a flimsy cardboard cover with a picture of the band with blues, but it wasn't a booklet, it was just the fucking cardboard cover. So I buy it so now is where I feel bad, and maybe this will change when we talk about how it's aged. But I was so disappointed with the album titles, the song titles. I had kind of, well, okay, two things. One, it was like, well, that's cool that they didn't fucking go grunge and try to change who they were. I had that thought. But also, I was like, fuck, shut up, make love, baby gets around a bit, no ring, no gets. I, so I think I'll be honest, I think I listened to it 2 or 3 times. I was like, well, Lay Your Body Down's a really good ballad. I kind of like, musically it sounds good. And I think I put that fucking thing away. Now, when it got released in 2000, I fucking bought anything Poison, and still do. So I bought it right away, but I'd already had the bootleg for so long. I think I just threw it back in the stack and let it sit. And would always tell people Poison is one of my favorite bands. But like I said, I probably gave it 2 or 3 spins and put it away because I was kind of disappointed. So now we're going to move on to, maybe some of you have been listening to it steadily. I pulled it back out for this video, listened to it like a shit. And I'll be honest, Patrick has been talking the shit out of it since he started being on this channel. So I have, besides the last couple days, been listening to it. So let's see where we're at with Crack a Smile now. And we'll just go in reverse order. We're just going to start with Patrick. Where are you at with it now?
This is my favorite Poison record. undoubtedly, I am a diehard Blues Saraceno fan. And I think that if he had been able to tour this record, if they had gotten the exposure, I mean, Capitol had put a whole promotion plan in place and had it running for the album to come out in 95. They were on Mad TV. They had done an entire press tour of South America for it. And then it fucking got shelved. So I think that if Blues had gotten a fair run with it, it would have had a good chance. And you'd be here. We've never heard any of these songs in a live setting, which is just depressing to me because I think they would have sounded incredible. How has the album aged for me? I still listen to it a few times a year. Of course, at this point, I don't listen to it all the time. I don't listen to the old Poison records all the time either. But when I do put Poison on, it's usually the Crack a Smile record. There's some things that I don't really enjoy as much as I used to. As much as I love every song on it, there's parts of what Ryan said that I 100% agree with. I could do without his voice box stuff happening in almost every song. You know, the took my girl in a porno movie. I thought that it'd be kind of like that kind of shit. Like I could do without that in every song, or every song doesn't have to have a little bit of comic relief in it.
Right.
I think the guitar work, I praise Ryan for saying what he said about the guitar work. There is no doubt that this album's guitar work has held the test of time too. This was Poison at their peak musicianship easily, but there's always that debate. Do people listen to Poison for the musicianship? Or do they listen to it to, go throw back some beers and get laid? I mean, clearly the answer is B. Otherwise, that's why this record isn't known that well. So
See,
I love it. It's my favorite.
All right. Jeremy, where are you at with it now?
God, this is why I was so passionate about this video. You and I, Patrick, have felt this way and alluded to this on a few different episodes. I think I loved it more these last couple of days than I've loved it any previous time. And yeah, I think it's a good mix of musicianship and getting laid. I could put this on and party any day of the week and just have a blast with it. But yeah, the corniness that was going on, you guys were older. You didn't necessarily have to do all of that every song, but it still doesn't bother me. I see it for what it is. And for me, it's a good time album. I genuinely am happy when I turn on this album and crank it up. I've been listening to it back and forth on my commute the last few days, and I don't shut it off. I don't skip a song. It's just like, damn, this would have been a fun record had it come out. But it just didn't. And shame on you, Capitol. I blame you. I really frickin' do. You did not give them a fair shake with this album. You did not give Blues a fair shake. And Poison, I don't know. I wish you would have stuck with them a little longer. I get it. It wasn't selling. You didn't even get to release it, so you had to do where the money was. So I don't hold anything against Poison, but I think it still holds up. I think it's fantastic. I preach it to everybody that ever says they like Poison. I said, well, then you have to hear Crack a Smile. Because I know you haven't. You've only heard the radio hits. Yep. You have to hear Crack a Smile. So I promote the shit out of it whenever, wherever I can, still to this day.
All right. Ryan, where you at with it now?
Dude, I like what you guys have to say. And I'm not full Motley 94 on this thing. Don't get me wrong, please. I am guilty of a lot of bands having the big first three. Poison is one of them. And they're kind of 3.5 with Swallow This Live. But because this is a little different for me, because I went, brand new release, full obsession, and put it away until this week, I'm going to give you a 1 minute, as I like to be concise. You know this. A concise 1 minute synopsis of this thing. Okay, best thing you ever had. Sets the tone. Deeper Bret Michaels. Honky tonk harmonica. But killer guitar. Wish they'd have done more of that. Shut Up, Make Love. I already touched on that one. Maybe gets around a bit. The a bit thing scared me because that's kind of like ode to the Beatles' reference. Don't like it. But killer pre-chorus and chorus. The Poison shit off this album, like I said, must have leaked because that's every 90s band's pop rock. Be the One. It's likely they wrote every bridge and chorus as an 80s band and rewrote every verse not to be killer. Okay. Mr. Smiley, I just put Nope. Sexual thing and lay your body down. Obviously, I love those. No ring, no gets. Not too bad. I get the title, but it's kind of dumb. Again, great chorus. That's what I like, or that's the way I like it. Probably my favorite track besides the sexual thing and lay your body down. Tragically Unhip. Great driving intro music. I like the ode to the old days. I'd have loved to hear this as an untainted 92 release. And I think there's some shit like that out there. I'm getting, because I'm so in tune with Brett and these fellas, kind of. Tragically Unhip, I think, is like an earlier than Native Tongue cooking around. I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
Do as I see on my TV. Punk, hard rock, good shit. Good background vocals and no lame harmonica, which is great. One more for the bone. Another one I wish would have been Untainted 92 release. Probably would have been killer. Set You Free 290s, Crack a Smile. Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. Jones, where you at with it now?
I still love it. It's right up there with really the only Poison record I still pull out and listen to. And that's not knocking the first three, because the first three is fantastic. However, I'm sort of like, I don't like to listen to the singles anymore because they've been played to death.
Mm-hmm.
If I hear, Talk Dirty or I Want Action, I'm turning the channel. I just am. Not saying I loved them. That's fantastic. They're the soundtrack of my youth. The reason I love Poison. But this still is just fresh to me. And if, I understand what Ryan's saying, but, and guys, I know, especially me and Anthony is the same age, in 87, 88, 89, that's what this was. We lived it day in and day out, hair metal, fun, party. And then we got beat to death in the 90s of that this music sucked. And it's Nirvana and Pearl Jam and STP and Chains. And I still like some of that. But it was so refreshing when you heard this that it was like, I loved Fun's back.
Yeah.
Back. That it was so refreshing that it was just like, not saying that it was lyrically a game changer. It was just like, hell yeah, we're back to 88, 89. And Tragically Unhipped, Ryan mentioned that. That's probably my favorite song of the record. I just love the throwback, the throw in your face, blow my brains out my head and I'll make the cover of every magazine.
All right.
It was just, I loved it. It's fantastic. I still love it.
That's the one. That's the one I swear was a pre-Native Tongue. Like maybe someday we'll figure that out. But man, it was killer enough to be like a 92, 93 Poison release.
Yeah.
And then they got persuaded into a Native Tongue-ish thing. But I feel like they 90s it up a little too much.
Gotcha. I understand that. Yeah, I got it.
Jones made a point that I just want to really highlight because it's absolutely true. And name me another band that did it, because the answer is not really anybody. If this comes out in 95, it would have been the only band of this ilk that would have put out a positive record.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it would have been. If that came out in 95, I think they might have been the only band other than Aerosmith that probably had a shot at any success. And I think they might have, because they would have been the only one doing a positive record. Bon Jovi put out These Days in 95, but it was very mellow and there wasn't any happiness on there. This was a pop record. It could have, there's several songs on there that, in my opinion, might have been able to transition over to pop radio.
Yeah.
So, I'll never be convinced of otherwise, that I think that this album could have had a hit if it came out in 95, because it would have been the only one of its ilk.
Yep.
It would have been original as shit in the mid 90s, completely different than what was going on in pop radio.
Yeah.
I've listened to it a few times because Patrick has been like, oh man, you got to listen to Crack a Smile. I listened to it like a shit ton over the last couple days, and here's kind of what I've decided is my nostalgia for the old days makes it age much better than I thought it would have. Now I looked at the lyrics as kind of goofy as shit in the late 90s, early 2000s, and now I'm like, oh, well, that's fun. That kind of reminds me of the good old days. I'm like, here we go. So that helps it out a lot. So I'll give you some. So it's much better than I remember it being. I'm like, okay. And I understand why Ricky Rocket was like, man, it's a great freaking record. And I'm like, you know what? Now I can say it is. I don't like every song. Best thing you ever had is I really like that song. I was a little worried about the acoustic intro. Really like that song. Shut Up, and I'm not going to go through every song. Shut Up, Make Love. Shitty title still, kind of. But I'm like, that's a pretty kick-ass guitar riff.
Mhm.
I love the cover of The Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
And I love the original version, and I thought it was a great idea for Poison to do that as a cover. I love Pussy Ballads, so Be the One and Lay Your Body Down are fantastic. Sexual Thing, I'm not big on the lyrics, but musically it's great. I think Doing As I Seen on My TV has a great riff. That's a solid song. That's the way I like it, is decent. So I'm not big on Tragically Unhip and a few other songs, but it's aged much better than I thought it would. And so I definitely think, I mean, looking at all of our opinions together, the majority of the opinion is that it's a really fucking good album. And Patrick says it's his favorite Poison album of all time. So I highly recommend people go listen to it. If you haven't spent any time with it, you may be surprised at how good it actually is.
Yeah, but Patrick thinks that Subhuman Race is the best album
True.
of Skid Row's career.
It is,
So-
and Belly to Belly is my favorite Warrant record. So.
Right. And
No
he,
joke.
and he likes Milli Vanilli, so
I do
And the
love
Bank
Belly to
MC
Belly, but the Subhuman Race Train, I can't get on board on that one.
Mm.
Well, Anthony, I'm sorry, Anthony, you made a very good point. I did not like the Poisoned covers album.
Oh, I love that.
No,
I don't, and I was never a big fan of Your Mama Don't Dance.
Yep.
I don't think Poison does covers that well, but Cover the Rolling Stone is freaking awesome. That is such a good cover, such a good thing. And yeah, you made a very good point on that one. Very good point.
and the lyrics were so appropriate for Poison in the late 90s, 2000s.
yeah, it almost felt like it was their song.
Yeah.
Like they were talking about how
Yeah.
their fall from grace, if you will.
Yep.
It really did. It felt true to form, no doubt about it.
Just
Sebastian
popping up
got
that it
on
could
it.
have been on pop radio.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But Sebastian heard it and he was like, fuck y'all, I was on the Rolling.
He was on the cover of the Rolling.
Yes.
Looking quite feminine.
Yes.
All right, that brings us to the end of a discussion about the Forgotten Poison album. Crack a smile. We would love it if you went in the comments. Let us know, maybe if you have any comments about some of the things that we said. Let us know what you think of Crack a Smile. With that, it's time to say goodbye to our roundtable members. Jones, the arbiter of the YouTube channel, hanging with Drummer Boy Jones. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, my brother. This has been one of my favorites. I love this conversation. This was so much fun. And, yes, Poison is Brett, Bobby, CC, and Ricky. I completely understand that. And CC don't get enough love. I love CC, but this is a great record. So thanks for having me on, my friend.
While you say that, now I'm just going to interject. CC may not be talked about as like the greatest technical player, but I've always been more interested in the song than the technical player. And I think when it comes to writing just a catchy ass fucking song, that's where CC DeVille, and I liked his Samantha 7 project. So that's where I think CC shines. So anyway, Ryan from Metalcast, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and just like you're saying, CC wrote a great song, but check him out on the stadium tour. I think that he did Eruption, so that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. But
Yes.
also, guys, I know predictability is like one of my biggest fears, but I'm so predictable when it comes to this shit. Like you guys know it. I got into this music because I want the 80s hard rock.
Yep.
And so this stuff is stretching it a bit. It ain't bad. It ain't Motley 94 bad. Anyway, so I appreciate
You're a Trojan
it.
horse. Yep.
Jeremy, drummer for the band Abrasion, looking badass. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks again. Ryan, you shouldn't apologize for doing what you do and staying true. Nothing ever sways you. And I respect the shit out of that. You know what you love, you know what drives you, and for that I commend you, my man. We need to have that other side. We need to have your voice because
Ryan, I think it's kind of fucked up. I think you should start changing a little bit.
I didn't know
well, you are the host, so I guess you call the shots. But thanks for having me on. Thanks for checking out this album. Please, guys, if you at all care about great rock and roll, check out Crack a Smile. I promise you, most of you will not be disappointed.
All right. Colonel Patrick, thanks for coming on to talk about your favorite Poison album.
Oh, dude, this is my favorite night of the week, and I love the discussion. And you know what? I wouldn't want to do any of these without Ryan, because you know what? It's so important to hear so many different sides of this. And you know, the most valuable part, Ryan, is you started this so late in the game.
Yeah.
Where we lived it. And I think that adds such an essential element to this. So, dude, don't change a thing, man.
You bet.
I was so passe in the late 90s. Oh, man.
If you like this kind of video, go check out the ones we did about Winger Pull, Motley Crue, the 1994 album, and Def Leppard Adrenalize. And then in the comments, let us know what are the other albums that you think we should break down like this. We've been going with albums that were maybe kind of overlooked or maybe even controversial, but let us know what other albums you'd like to see us break down like that. Hey, in the description, you will find the link to Hair Metal Mansion that I host every Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time on Rock 101 KLOL. You'll find the link to Hair Metal Guru merch. Get yourself looking all badass, kind of like Burt Reynolds and shit. You'll find the link to FNA Records, who are putting out new releases from some of our favorite 80s bands. And hey, like, subscribe, what the hell, ring the bell, and whatever you can do to support the channel. Truly, we appreciate you being here. Until the next video comes out, my name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. Take care of yourselves.